Kia ora everyone, welcome back to In the Green Trading. Day 62 today, just one trade and it was a clean one. After a tough few days, it felt good to take a setup I was confident in and come out green. Let's jump into the breakdown. I opened up my software today, this morning, and one of the leading gainers was TIRX. And I sort of saw it around this point here. It had just pulled back from a high of 276 and broken down through VWAP, and it was starting to come back up again. It did have a couple of, topping tails here as it was trying to break through VWAP. And as I watched it, I thought I would take an entry here at 245. So I sort of bought in here off the 20 EMA. It was buying up here, and I jumped in. It did sort of do a red candle and sort of struggled to break up, but then it did a nice push here with some, actually I'll bring this across so you can see it a bit better. Even further, here. So it did break here on this candle here through VWAP. I held through that candle to top that candle, and then it pushed again up to a high of 263, and that's where I sold. There's a bit of selling coming in, and it looked like it had reached the end of its run, so I sold there on the bid at 263. 73 shares. So that was a profit of $13. $13.14 on that trade. So quick trade. This was still before 7 o'clock. This was around 6:41 when I entered the trade and 6:44 when I exited. So real quick trade there. I really thought about taking a second trade, getting back in at this level again around 245, and that would have been a slightly better trade if I got around 280. Yeah, and it did go further. I mean, even if I had bought in here as it, retested VWAP here maybe, or as it broke through this candle here, if I held through that dip, then that would have been a nice trade there up to around 320. But after the last few days, I thought it was just better for me to take one trade, get green, stay green for the last day of the month of May. So basically I was done after that trade. And so everything after that was, I was just paper trading and just getting my confidence back after, taking 4 losses in a row yesterday. And I just needed to be patient and take a good trade and stay green for today. So I didn't let any FOMO get to me or anything like that. There was a couple of stocks that sort of I thought about trading and did some paper trades on, and BLRX was a strong stock that popped around 7 o'clock. This one was probably a bit too expensive for me to trade initially. So, as it was coming up here, I didn't see this big push here to $10. I saw it as it was pulling back down here. It had pulled back down to about 777 and was buying up. And I thought about taking a trade here as it retested VWAP, being in around 850. Around the $0.50 here at 850, and as it pushed up to 950 up to that area there, that was my exit. So buying in on that second green candle there around VWAP around the 850 mark, and then exiting around 950 as it pushed up over here. So that was sort of my paper trade I took on BLRX. But for me to do that with my account at the moment, I'd probably be only trading around 20 shares. Can't quite remember how many shares I could afford at that price range, but I'm sure it's only about 20. And then it pulled back. So big red candle here, rallied again, off, what's that, around 8:30, and then pushed back up to over 9 again. So good range on it. If you had the stomach for it to be trading around just below VWAP, but now it's basically trending downwards. And later on, actually, I thought about taking a trade off the lows because it was holding $6. So as it came down here, it held $6, well, $5.60 actually, but it had some, it started holding around the $6 mark. So this would have been a good entry here as it broke down through $6 as it bought back up. Could have been in at $5.90, $5.80, and for that push back to, $6.50. So that would have been a nice trade off the lows. But generally I don't trade off the low anymore. I tended to have lower accuracy on those types of trades because basically you're going against the trend and trying to anticipate where it's going to bottom out and then start coming back up. So I have tried that strategy before, and it did have some success with it, but I don't really trade that anymore, as my accuracy over a long period of time hasn't been great. The other stock, TIRX, sort of rolled over too. Into the open, it sort of dipped down and then rallied back up to VWAP and came up to about 760. I didn't watch this at the open actually. I watched something else, but we'll get to that. GITS, or actually NVVE, was another stock that was within my price range. Wasn't really that high on the gainer list. It was sort of outside the top 3. It was more like it was in the maybe top 5 at one point. But this popped up to about $1.40, pulled back to where it came from basically, but then it rallied again, and it rallied up here, and this is where I thought of taking a paper trade at 129 as it broke back to VWAP. So in at 129 on this candle here, as it sort of dipped down and came back up, and out, I think it was out at 140, 142. So nice quick trade there. That would have been a decent trade for me to take actually with my live account, being able to afford more shares. I could have traded that with about 120 shares, something like that. And then again, it pulled back to 127, could have been in 129 again for a pushback to 139, 10 cents there as well. But really wasn't a stock that was in focus. Not many other traders were really trading this, so wasn't really expecting this to push to $2 or anything like that. It was a stock that was moving but wasn't far enough up the leaderboard to really warrant the attention. So VVIK was another one as well. VIVK. So this popped around 8 o'clock, pushed up here and held around $1.50. And yeah, I took paper trade on this down here, getting in at 158 as it dipped down here off of VWAP and then pushed back up, and I was out at 196 for a paper trade on that one there. So that would have been a decent trade to have taken in the live account there. Yeah, but buying the dip basically on the backside of this big move here, volume came in, and it was showing that it was that it was pushing higher up here. It was pulling back here, but it was buying up, and I bought that dip around the $0.50 mark, around 157, and then the volume came in, and once that volume came in, I held the trade, and even though it pulled back a little bit on this candle and pulled back down to here, it eventually pushed higher, and I took my exit up here around 196. So that was a decent paper trade on that one. That was quite good. But then it sort of rolled over, and that was pretty much it. Didn't look like it was going to do anything more. So didn't really do much more with VIVK. And then at the open, RRGB was the stock I watched quickly at the open. This was lighting up my scanner, whereas everything else was sort of moving downwards and not really showing strength, whereas this hit a low of 423 on the VWAP and then pushed up to 467. I didn't really paper traded it. I sort of watched it, and an entry here would have been as it broke through 450, or as it pulled back here, micro pullback on this candle in here, good entry there, or coming down to the 9 EMA there, entry off that, and then holding for a good exit up here, maybe at 510. But that candle there, flat top candle, could have held through that pullback and just waited for it to push. Did push eventually to 571, but getting in at 450 and getting out at around 530, that would have been a decent trade. So I would have been quite happy with taking my profit at that level as well. And then I shut it down. I actually missed another stock, GITS. My son got up out of bed, and I was helping him when GITS sort of popped up. So I missed this entire move. It sort of popped up here around just before 8 o'clock, just before 9 o'clock, sorry, 10 to 9. And made a decent move from, $1.20 all the way up here to 3.11. And then basically held that level around 280 and pushed all the way up to 387. So really decent move. And I missed all of that pretty much. I think I saw it as it was coming up to 380 by the time I came back and saw it on the scanner. And then it pulled back, didn't really give didn't really give a good break, a good opportunity to get back in here as it was pulling back. And then it held on the 20 EMA and pushed higher. So this is probably really the first entry point after that pullback, is as it broke that first green candle to push higher, or break a VWAP, possibly could have got it in there as well, if you're happy with trading off the VWAP. And then retesting the VWAP, catching the bounce there was another entry there, and pushing up to 350 something, 351, yeah. So did a good nice move and nice little rally off the 20 EMA, but after that it just sort of rolled over, and that was pretty much it. So that was sort of all the stocks that I watched this morning. Nothing else really caught my eye. I'll have a look at the stats. So TIRX, 73 shares bought, 245, out at 263 for $13.14. Profit, 18 cents per share today. So Decent trade. Nothing major, sort of a base hit, but happy with that. For the month of May, not looking great. Obviously not profitable this month. And I still have to do my fees for this week. So that red figure there at the end of this week will be even bigger. Probably about $16, I would say. I did 8 trades there, so it'll be another $16 on top of that of fees. So that means my P&L for the month is $180 down on the month gross, $238 net. So that's including my fees. If I add another 16 onto that, that'll be $254 down this month. So not a very good result. Some positives to take away. I had more green days than red days, 12 green days versus 8 red days. So my accuracy is at least over 50%, but only just. It's actually more if I look at my gross results. So before fees, I've got more green days, 14 green days and 6 red days. But because of fees, a couple of green days turn into red days. Risk reward is terrible at 0.45. That really needs to be up at 1 at least, or higher. Higher would be better, but really have to work on the risk reward. And that is, getting rid of, sorry, I've got drawings everywhere. Getting rid of these days, big red days. I had 3 big red days this month. That basically wiped out all the gains that I had made on my green days. My biggest green day this month was here, what's that, $31.72. But my biggest red day is 181. So at least there's only one day that's over 100 in the red, but these ones here at 79, 77, they should be, more like this, $20. Or, my max loss is around $40, $50 for the day, but that's a little bit high. But that's okay. That's a couple of days, couple of good days trading, and I've made that back. A $20 loss is, one good day trading, and I've made it back. But $181, well, that's nearly a month of trading to make that back. So really got to work on that next month in June, and try and get that equity curve going in the right direction, because at the moment, my equity curve at the moment for May hasn't been good. Hit some plateaus and started here, was good grinding up, but then I had that big loss, $70 loss there, and then again. So that needs to stop, and even if I'm only having small green days, as long as my red days are relatively the same and small, and I've got a higher accuracy, more green days than red, then I should come out at the end of the month with some profit. So that's the goal for next month, is to just chip away, and really, like days like yesterday where I took 4 trades, and I had already had 3 red trades in a row. I should have stopped at that, even after the first trade. I'm meant to be only trading once a day, and I'm, it's been quite a few days last week, and this week, a couple of days this week, where haven't stuck to that rule of taking just 1 trade a day. And yeah, it worked on Wednesday, and I got a couple of good trades in and ended up green. But Thursday just wiped me out here. $77 down, 4 red trades in a row. Not good at all. But I must admit my mindset was much better last night. Going into the session, I had a clearer head and really focused on my entry and exit and making sure I exited at the right time and traded the price action, not where I thought it was going to go, or where I wanted the stock to go to. And I did want it to go to $3, to be honest. When I got in at when I got it at 245, my best exit was around $3, and it did go there. It did go over $3. I was just not in at the right time. I was in too early, and once it pulled back after that trade, getting in again if I was trading more, I could have got in again at I could have got in again, on that very next dip here. That would have been another entry there, and that would have been an okay trade there, and and eventually it did go over $3 up here. So I had the right idea. I was just a bit early on my execution, but I was still happy with that trade. So yeah. Anything else to go over on my charts? Not really. I think too, having 8 red days, not great. Generally I allow a red day a week, 1 red day a week. So, haven't really been able to manage those red days well. Even though 2 of them were because of fees and commissions, but that's because I've over traded on those days anyway. Yeah. So that was it for the month of May. Really happy with today. It's not about forcing trades or chasing moves. It's about sticking to what works and managing trades well. Only 1 trade today, but it was quality over quantity. Shut it down just after the open. It's the last day of the trading week and the month of May. I'm looking forward to resetting and coming back fresh next week. If you got value from this breakdown, don't forget to like and subscribe. And let me know how your trading week, and your month wrapped up in the comments. I'll see you next week. Hei te rā wiki.